Phew, what a shift. It's always a race around here, but I've learned to keep up. Though, I wouldn't mind sitting down for a bit.
Hazel stands before you, her slender frame accentuated by a loose top and baggy jean shorts. The top is fully buttoned, hiding her upper body, but her figure hints at the beginning of subtle curves. Her legs, long and slender, possess a slight, alluring curvature. Her jean shorts hang loosely around her thighs, emphasizing her petite form. The overall look is one of a delicate balance between girlish charm and the promise of burgeoning femininity.
I'm good, thanks. If I eat too much now, I'll just end up feeling slow later.
Hazel takes small bites, her loose top fluttering slightly with each movement, her belly remaining flat and unbothered. Hazel takes small bites, her loose top fluttering slightly with each movement, her belly remaining flat and unbothered. Hazel eats with a bit more enthusiasm, her midsection beginning to swell gently as her shorts start to feel snug. Hazel stands barefoot by the scale, her tiny frame seeming to barely disturb the digital display. Her loose top and baggy jean shorts give her a breezy, almost tomboyish vibe, the fabric barely brushing her body. Her legs are long and straight, with just the faintest curve at the hip. Her shirt sways when she moves, completely unbothered by her form beneath. Even the shorts sit loose, hanging more than hugging.
Told you, nothing to see here. I'm still featherweight, basically.
The scale beeps softly, Hazel leans down to peek. Wait, kg.
But hey, maybe you're just checking in early for the before and after shots, huh?
Hazel devours her meal hungrily, her belly expanding into a tight, round dome that presses heavily against her thighs.
I swear, my waistband is getting a little tight. I guess that's what happens when you work around food all day. But hey, it's not like a little indulgence will hurt, right?
Hazel's appearance is now dramatically altered by her recent overindulgence. Her top can no longer hide the massive swell of her distended belly, which extends prominently to her thighs. The sheer fullness of her stomach, filled to the point of both ecstasy and discomfort, is unmistakable. Her belt has been undone, offering her some relief, but the unroundness of her overfilled belly are evident. The pleasure and slight pain of her overindulgence are written all over her expression, adding an intensely erotic dimension to her transformed figure.
I don't think I can move if I eat anything else. I'm absolutely stuffed.
Her belly pushes outward, swollen from indulgence but still firm underneath. A tiny gasp escapes as your fingers press into the stretched skin. She breathes heavily between bites, her overstuffed stomach straining against her top as it swells to an impressive size.
These perfumes smell amazing, don't they?
Hazel is in the cosmetics section, carefully examining a bottle of perfume. Her body was noticeably fuller, her curves more pronounced as she leaned over the counter. Her breasts pressed against the glass, and her hips brushed against the displays as she shifted her stance, clearly taking up more space than before. You noticed how her shirt strained to contain her growing frame, clinging tightly to her chest. She's completely absorbed in her shopping, oblivious to the attention she's attracting.
I shouldn't. I'm already starting to feel heavy. Tempting. But I think I should stop before I get too full. I think I've hit my limit for now. Don't want to ruin the rest of my day.
Her belly still holds some firmness, but there's the slightest give beneath your touch now. Your fingers explore the faint softness, making Hazel shiver.
Oh wow, this is a lot more food than I thought.
Hazel nervously picks up the first Big Mac, taking small, hesitant bites. She's determined, but her pace is slow.
You've got this, Hazel. Just take it one bite at a time. Yeah, I'm trying, but this is a lot harder than it looks.
She finishes the first burger and moves on to the second, but it's clear she's struggling. By the time she's halfway through the second burger, she's slowing down considerably.
I don't think I can do this. My stomach's already so full.
Hazel barely manages to finish a third of the challenge before she pushes the tray away, her face red with exertion.
I'm sorry, I just can't eat anymore. You did great, Hazel. It's a tough challenge.
Hazel looks relieved to stop, but there's a hint of disappointment in her eyes as she glances at the unfinished food.
Oh wow, this is a lot more food. Wow, today was exhausting. I've been running around like crazy, but I still found time to sneak in some fries and burgers. It's too hard to resist when you're surrounded by all this tasty food.
Hazel stands before you, radiating youthful charm with her subtly transformed figure. Her hips have widened, giving her a gentle sway that captivates with each step. While she retains her slender silhouette, there's a new softness beginning to grace her midsection, barely noticeable unless she bends over, when a hint of roundness peeks through her loose top. Her thighs are fuller, but they don't quite touch yet, allowing her to glide effortlessly across the floor. Her breasts have also become more prominent, visible through the fabric of her shirt, adding an alluring fullness to her look. The overall effect is one of a slightly thicker than average girl with a shapely physique, hinting at her burgeoning curves without overwhelming her youthful essence. Hazel eats steadily, her breath coming a bit heavier as her belly swells against her shirt, the fullness making her movements more deliberate.
Oof, I think I've had enough. My belly's already starting to feel stuffed.
Her movements slow as she eats, her stomach rounding out significantly, forcing her to adjust her posture to accommodate the growing bulk. She groans softly with each bite, her overfilled stomach straining her clothes to their limits, her posture forced into a slight arch. You and Hazel are sitting in a cozy corner of the fast food restaurant. Hazel grins as she brings over a tray loaded with various menu items, setting it down between you.
You really know how to treat a girl, huh? Free food and great company. It doesn't get much better than this. Well, I couldn't let you eat alone, could I? Besides, I wanted to see if you could keep up with me. Oh, I can definitely keep up. Don't let this figure fool you. I've got a big appetite.
She takes a bite of a burger, her eyes lighting up with delight as the flavors hit her.
This is so good. It's hard to resist when everything smells this amazing. I'm here all the time, and I still can't get enough. You're lucky you get to enjoy this whenever you want. I'd probably eat here every day if I could. That's the danger of working here. I have to remind myself not to overdo it. But sometimes, it's just too tempting.
As Hazel continues eating, you notice her free hand resting on her stomach, which has a barely noticeable curve. Her bites become more indulgent, savoring every mouthful.
A little indulgence never hurt anyone. Besides, you look amazing. You're sweet. I guess a little extra here and there doesn't hurt. Plus, it's nice to share it with someone who enjoys it as much as I do.
Hazel's words send a warm thrill through you as you watch her continue to eat, the curve of her stomach growing slightly more pronounced.
You know, I think you could handle just a little more. After all, who's counting? You think so? Well, I suppose one more burger wouldn't hurt.
Hazel's grin widens as she reaches for another burger, her appetite clearly sparked by your encouragement.
I guess I'll have to work a little harder to burn this off, but right now, I don't care.
She bites into the burger with enthusiasm, her hand now resting more firmly on her growing belly, rubbing it absent-mindedly.
This feels really good. You might be a bad influence, but I'm not complaining. I'm just making sure you enjoy yourself.
Hazel's eyes meet yours, a flicker of something more than just gratitude in them as she continues to indulge. As the meal winds down, you and Hazel share a contented look, the connection between you deepening over the shared indulgence.
Okay, maybe I did go a little overboard, but it was totally worth it. We should do this more often. Definitely. I'd love to see you enjoy yourself like this again. Careful, or I might start taking you up on that. But hey, if you're up for it, I'm not going to say no.
The scene ends with both of you sharing a contented look, the connection between you deepening over the shared indulgence.
Ugh, why is it so hard to find a cute bra in my size?
Hazel stood in front of a mirror in the lingerie store, looking a bit frustrated as she sifted through the bras on display. The ones she used to love no longer fit, the bands and cups too small for her ample bust. She finally picked a larger size, holding it up in front of her. The cups seemed huge, yet they looked like they might still struggle to contain her fullness. When she emerged from the fitting room, she's wearing a playful smile, clearly pleased with how the new bra hugged her curves, lifting and supporting her heavy chest.
Oof, I think I've had enough. My belly's already starting to feel stuffed.
Hazel eats steadily, her breath coming a bit heavier as her belly swells against her shirt, the fullness making her movements more deliberate.
Come on, Hazel, just a few more reps, you've got this.
Rebecca encourages Hazel as she pushes through the workout. Hazel's face is a mix of determination and concentration as she struggles with the exercises.
I did it. I actually did it.
Hazel finishes her set, a triumphant smile spreading across her face. She feels accomplished and surprisingly lighter after the workout.
See, I told you you could do it. You're stronger than you think.
Rebecca pats Hazel on the back, beaming with pride at her progress.
Thanks, Rebecca. I feel so much better now.
Hazel's laptop has been pushed further away on the table, her growing bust taking up more of her view. She fidgets slightly, trying to find a comfortable position, but her expanding chest is making it increasingly difficult.
Why does this feel so cramped all of a sudden? Ugh, I just need to get through this assignment.
Watching Hazel struggle to adjust to her growing body, you can't help but notice how much more space she's taking up. Her breasts are now a prominent feature, and she seems a bit flustered by the unexpected challenge they pose.
I've been enjoying myself lately. Maybe a little too much. But honestly, it feels kind of nice. Do you think I should slow down or just keep indulging?
Hazel's body is now dominated by her enormously distended belly, a consequence of truly overindulging. Her stomach juts out dramatically, far beyond what her frame is used to, the fabric of her top barely managing to contain the swollen mass. Yet her belly pulls at her lower back, forcing her to arch slightly, her breasts resting heavily on top of the tight dome. Breathing has become laborious, each breath is deep and slow, her chest rising and falling with effort as her overfilled stomach compresses her lungs. Usual energetic movements are now labored, her gait reduced to a careful shuffle as she navigates around her workplace, trying to keep her balance. Sitting down is an ordeal, requiring her to spread her legs wide to make space for her massive belly, the edges of her shorts digging into her hips uncomfortably. Hazel's face is flushed, a mix of strain and satisfaction, her hands frequently resting on her bloated stomach as if to reassure herself of its fullness. The sheer size of her belly affects everything she does, from bending over to reaching for something, each movement slow and deliberate to accommodate her overstuffed form. Her belly is full and firm beneath the growing layer of softness, a tight swell pushing against your hand. You rub slow, teasing circles, feeling her breath hitch.
Okay, this time I'm going to do it. I've been practicing for this.
Hazel attacks the first burger with more confidence, her pace quicker than before. She manages to get through the first two burgers and fries with relative ease, but as she moves on to the third, her pace slows.
You're doing amazing, Hazel. Just keep going. I know, but it's starting to get really tough.
She pushes through the third burger, and when she finally reaches the last soda, she's visibly struggling. Her belly is bloated, her breath shallow, but she's determined to finish.
I just need to drink this, and I'm done.
Hazel tries to down the last soda, but her stomach has reached its limit. The soda starts spilling out of the corners of her mouth, trickling down her breasts, making a sticky mess.
Ugh, I can't. It just won't go down.
She drops the cup, defeated, her overstuffed belly making her pant heavily.
So close, but I just can't do it. You almost had it, Hazel. You did amazing.
Hazel nods, trying to catch her breath, clearly overstuffed and a bit embarrassed. Hazel's belly bulges dramatically as she eats, her top barely containing the swollen mass, each bite pushing her to the edge of discomfort. Hazel's belly bulges dramatically as she eats, her top barely containing the swollen mass, each. Hazel settles into a plank position, her elbows pressed against the mat, but she notices a slight tension in her core as she holds her body up. Her stomach isn't quite as flat as it was before, a subtle curve pressing down toward the mat as she focuses on keeping herself lifted. Her arms tremble slightly after a minute, her brows furrowing as she feels the burn. Her breathing becomes heavier, and she can't help but glance down, noticing the way her tummy seems to sink closer with each passing second. After another few seconds, she drops to her knees, catching her breath with a faint blush.
Didn't feel this before.
She wipes her brow, noticing the first signs of effort, but a grin crosses her lips, excited for how the challenge only seems to make her stronger. You walk into W.C. Donald's expecting a quick snack, but you're greeted by a rather surprising sight. Hazel standing behind the counter, looking flustered, with over 30 trays of fries piled up around her.
Hazel, what's going on? Oh, you wouldn't believe it. There was a mix-up with the orders, and now we've got all these fries. I can't let them go to waste.
Her eyes dart between the trays and you, a hint of mischief in her voice. There's no denying the playful grin on her lips as she rests a hand on her belly, which is still flat for now.
I've already had a few trays, but I need some help with the rest. What do you say? Think you can keep up?
Her invitation is laced with challenge, but there's something else behind it, a tantalizing opportunity to watch her overindulge, her belly expanding with every bite.
Oh, I'll help, but I think you should handle the bulk of it.
You sit back, crossing your arms as you watch Hazel go to town on the fries. She starts out with excitement, but soon you can see her slowing down as her belly begins to visibly push against her clothes. Her midsection swells dramatically, the bulge growing larger with every bite. Her stomach is now pressing against her shirt, the soft mound of flesh tightening under the fabric. Hazel moans, placing a hand on her belly, which has become noticeably rounder.
I don't think I can keep going, but these fries are so good. Come on, Hazel, you can handle more than that, keep going.
With a deep breath, Hazel grabs one last tray and devours the fries. Her belly swells to its absolute limit, pushing so far out that it stretches her shirt to the breaking point. She groans, her body trembling as her stomach distends into a massive, round dome. Her shirt creaks under the pressure, the fabric straining to contain her overstuffed belly. Hazel winces, rubbing the sides of her taut stomach, her breathing labored.
I can't believe I ate so much. I feel like I'm going to pop, but it feels so good, so full.
Her belly juts out in front of her, heavy and swollen, pressing into the table. She shifts in her seat, clearly feeling the weight of her massive indulgence, her breaths coming in shallow pants as she tries to adjust.
I think you've definitely outdone yourself. MMHMM, but I couldn't stop. Thanks for pushing me to do it.
You can't help but stare at the round expanse of her overstuffed stomach, now fully on display, pushing against the fabric of her shirt, her body quivering with the effort of containing it all.
You know what? I'm not even mad about it. I love how much I've been indulging lately, and this growing belly is just proof of all the delicious food I've enjoyed. Do you still think I look good though?
Hazel's transformation into a figure of pure indulgence is now complete. Her belly, stretched to its absolute limit, dominates her frame, a vast, taut orb that extends far in front of her. The sheer and size of her distended stomach force her into a gentle arch, her heavy breasts resting on top of its massive dome. Every breath she takes is labored, each inhale and exhale a slow, deliberate effort as her lungs struggle for space against her overfilled belly. Hazel's movements are painstakingly slow and cautious, her steps reduced to a careful shuffle to maintain her balance. Sitting down is a significant challenge. She must spread her legs wide and adjust her hips to make room for the enormity of her belly, her shorts digging into her soft flesh uncomfortably. Face is a portrait of strain mixed with deep satisfaction, her hands often resting on her bloated stomach as if to reassure herself of its fullness. Every action, from bending to reach something to shifting in her seat, is a deliberate, slow motion, her overstuffed form making each movement a laborious, yet intensely sensual, effort. She moans as you massage the heavy curve, a deep slosh audible beneath your touch.
Oh, I didn't expect it to feel so good.
Hazel shifts in her seat, the small cafe chair creaking under her increasing weight. She sips on yet another drink, her belly pressing against the edge of the table, making it difficult for her to lean forward.
This is so good. Maybe just one more.
You can't help but feel a twinge of concern as the chair groans under her. Hazel's body is clearly growing, filling out her clothes and testing the limits of the furniture. Yet she continues to indulge, seemingly unaware of the strain she's putting on her surroundings. Your fingers glide over her stretched skin, pressing gently to ease the pressure. Hazel gasps, breath coming in uneven bursts.
I think you're gonna make me melt.
Hazel lowers herself into a plank, immediately feeling the strain as her heavier midsection presses toward the mat. Her arms and shoulders tighten to hold her up, her face already glistening with a light sheen of sweat. She focuses intently, but her belly dips closer and closer as her body adjusts to the extra weight. Seconds tick by slowly, and Hazel's breathing grows heavier. She feels her entire body trembling under the effort, her arms straining just to keep her steady, as she fights against the pull of gravity on her now curvier figure. After nearly 30 seconds, she can't hold on anymore and lets herself drop to the mat with a heavy sigh, feeling both frustration and pride.
Ugh, okay, that's harder than it looks.
She rolls onto her back, catching her breath and patting her midsection, noticing how the added weight is really starting to change things.
This time, I'm going to finish it, no matter what.
Hazel is more focused than ever, starting the challenge with determination. She devours the first 2 Big Macs with surprising speed, moving on to the third without hesitation. Her belly is visibly swelling as she continues, but she pushes through, sweat forming on her brow.
You're so close, Hazel, just a little more. I know, but it's getting really hard.
She finishes the 3rd burger and forces herself to start on the 4th, her pace much slower now. Her face is flushed, her breathing labored, but she doesn't stop.
Almost done.
Finally, Hazel finishes the 4th burger and the last of the fries. She grabs the last soda, her hands trembling as she drinks it down. The moment she finishes, she slumps back in her seat, her belly massively distended and her face a mix of pain and pride.
I did it, but I'm so full.
She groans, rubbing her overstuffed belly, her body shaking slightly from the effort.
You did it, Hazel. You're amazing. Thanks, but I don't think I'll be eating again for a while.
Hazel smiles weakly, clearly proud of herself but also in considerable discomfort from how full she is. She hums, a lazy smile curling her lips.
You're way too good at this. I can actually see my belly pushing against my waistband. No more.
She pauses between bites to rub her distended stomach, the of her meal pressing heavily against her waistband as she leans back with a sigh. Hazel's swollen stomach presses against the table as she eats, her movements slow and cautious, each bite adding to the overwhelming tightness of her bloated form. Hazel steps up onto the scale, exhaling a soft oof as she balances herself. The scale beeps under her weight, but your attention is pulled to the way her top clings now, completely outlining the plush dome of her belly. The curve of her stomach is soft and rounded, her breasts lifted gently by the pressure beneath. Her shorts look like they've fought a small war, belt undone, waistband sitting lower than before, clinging to her fuller hips and thicker thighs. Wait, KG.
Geez, I feel like I need to oil myself up just to get these shorts on.
She gives a shimmy that makes her belly wobble, the motion jostling her shirt up slightly and revealing the smooth underside of her gut.
Still cute though, right? Oh my gosh, that was so embarrassing.
As Hazel inspected a row of lipsticks, one slipped off the shelf and bounced off the swell of her breasts, finally nestling into her deep cleavage. Her eyes widened in surprise, her cheeks flushing as she reached into her cleavage to retrieve the lost lipstick. There's a mix of embarrassment and pride in her eyes as she handed it back to you with a shy smile.
At least they're good for something, right? Oh my god. I think I need to sit down for a bit.
Hazel is slumped on a bench in the middle of the mall, her chest heaving as she tried to catch her breath. She's clearly been walking for a while, and the strain of carrying her heavier body was starting to take its toll. Her legs were spread slightly to accommodate her thick thighs, and her belly rested comfortably on her lap as she struggled to cool down. She wiped her brow and gave you a tired smile, asking if you could take a break before continuing to shop. It's late at night, and Hazel is slowly waddling around the empty McDonald's, cleaning up after the last customers have left. Her movements are slow and deliberate, her growing body making every task a little more challenging than before. Her wide hips occasionally bump into tables and chairs as she navigates the aisles, each impact causing a slight jiggle through her softened frame. You watch as she approaches a table that's set against a booth, her belly leading the way. Hazel leans over the table, trying to reach the far side to wipe it down, but her belly presses against the edge, stopping her.
Ugh, come on, just a little farther.
She huffs as she tries to stretch, but her thickened waistline makes it impossible for her to reach the other side without shifting uncomfortably. You suggest she slide into the booth to get better access, though it's clear this is going to be a tight fit for her.
You might want to try sliding into the booth to reach the other side.
Hazel glances at the narrow booth and groans softly, knowing this won't be easy. She sucks in her breath, wiggling her hips as she tries to slide her widening frame into the booth. Her belly presses against the edge of the table, squishing as she struggles to make it fit. It takes some effort, but eventually Hazel manages to wedge herself into the booth, her belly now squished against the table, her hips pressing tightly against the sides.
Ugh, this is way harder than it used to be.
She sighs but finally reaches across and wipes the other side of the table. Her thighs spread across the booth, barely leaving any space as she finishes cleaning. With the cleaning finally done, Hazel leans against the counter, her belly pressing against the surface as she catches her breath. You can tell she's worn out from all the bending, squeezing, and reaching.
Phew, that was tough.
She wipes her brow, but her attention shifts to the leftover food sitting on the counter. Burgers, fries, and nuggets, all untouched and perfectly good. She eyes them for a moment, clearly considering something.
It'd be such a waste to throw these out.
Her belly lets out a soft growl, and you know exactly what she's thinking. It's been a long day, and Hazel seems more than ready for a reward. You step closer, holding up a leftover burger.
Why not let me feed you? You've earned it after all that hard work.
Hazel blushes slightly but doesn't protest as you bring the burger to her lips. She takes a big bite, her eyes closing as she savors the taste. One bite quickly turns into another, and before long, Hazel has polished off the burger. Her belly presses more firmly against the counter, her stuffed stomach rounding out as you feed her fries and nuggets, each one filling her more.
I didn't think I was this hungry.
Her voice is muffled between bites, but she doesn't stop eating, her belly growing tighter with every bite you feed her. Eventually, she's leaning back, her swollen stomach clearly overstuffed. With the leftovers now gone, Hazel leans against the counter, her belly protruding noticeably beneath her uniform. She rubs her overstuffed stomach with a soft groan, clearly feeling the effects of her indulgence.
I really overdid it this time.
She lets out a soft laugh, though it's clear she's enjoying the feeling of fullness. Her belly presses heavily against the counter, her thighs spread wide as she leans back, completely stuffed.
She may have struggled to clean up, but she sure doesn't have any trouble finishing off a meal.
You smile as Hazel gives her belly a final pat, clearly proud of her efforts. The combination of her growing body and her insatiable appetite is becoming more and more obvious.
If this keeps up, she'll need more than just extra chairs next time she eats. Absolutely stuffed. I can feel my belly pressing against my clothes, but it's hard to complain when everything's been so tasty. Maybe I should slow down, or maybe I'll just keep going.
Hazel's overindulgence has left her practically immobile, her massive belly swelling to a size that forces her to waddle with exaggerated caution. The button of her shorts has long since popped open, allowing her distended belly to spill out freely. Her top is now little more than a second skin, stretched tightly across her bulging breasts and swollen middle. Each breath is a slow, labored effort, her heavy chest rising and falling as she shuffles carefully between tables. Every step sends a wave of motion through her overstuffed belly, her balance precarious as she struggles to keep herself steady under its sheer weight. Hazel frequently rests her hands on her belly, her face a mixture of strain and satisfaction. Hazel sits at a corner table, her laptop buried under a growing pile of empty plates and cups. Her belly presses firmly against the table's edge, forcing her to sit back slightly, her posture becoming increasingly relaxed as she indulges in another sugary treat. A half-eaten cinnamon roll rests in front of her, but her focus is still on her notes, her fingers tapping away on the keyboard between bites.
I really need to finish this, but maybe just one more bite wouldn't hurt.
A growing figure makes her shift uncomfortably, her thighs pressing against the sides of the chair, causing it to creak softly beneath her weight. Hazel seems oblivious to how much space she's starting to take up, her concentration still entirely on her studies, though her softening body betrays her increasing indulgence.
Looks like you're getting a lot done, and maybe eating a lot too. Oh, yeah, I guess I have been snacking a bit, but I'm almost done, I swear.
He chuckles nervously, her hand absent-mindedly patting her belly as it lets out a soft groan. There's a subtle hint of embarrassment in her expression, but her need to finish her work quickly overrides any concern about her expanding figure. Still, the evidence of her indulgence is undeniable as her body continues to soften and grow. Your fingers knead into her packed stomach, the pressure making her whimper.
Don't stop, I need this.
Hazel steps onto the scale carefully, her movements slower now. Her belly swells outward like a pillow tucked under her shirt, its soft roundness dominating her torso. The fabric of her top clings to every curve, the stretched lines across her chest and waist clearly visible. Her shorts look ready to explode. The sides dig into her thickened hips while the button, long since undone, rests beneath a roll of plush fat that spills forward with every breath. The scale takes a few seconds before finally settling. Wait, kg.
Okay, yeah, this is officially a lot.
She runs a hand along the slope of her belly, fingers sinking slightly into the soft surface. When she turns sideways, the curve juts forward unmistakably. Her thighs now press together all the way down, creating a soft sway when she shifts weight.
I might need help getting these off later. They're like, stuck.
She laughs nervously, but there's a pride beneath it. Her blush deepens as she looks at you, eyes twinkling.
You're not regretting this, are you? I feel like I'm going to pop. I can barely sit up straight.
She groans with each mouthful, her belly bloated to its limit, the waistband of her shorts digging in painfully as she struggles to finish.
This is a lot, but I've handled bigger meals before, I think.
Hazel hesitantly begins, biting into the first burger with a mix of caution and determination. Her larger frame now allows her to handle more food, and she manages to finish the first 2 burgers and fries with some effort, though her pace has slowed by the third.
You're doing great, Hazel. You're already more than halfway through. Yeah, but I'm really starting to feel it now.
By the time she starts on the 4th burger, Hazel's bloated belly is pressing tightly against her clothes. She winces as each bite stretches her already overstuffed stomach, but she refuses to give up. Her hands tremble as she forces the last few bites in.
I'm so close, just one more bite.
Hazel finishes the 4th burger with a strained gasp, her belly now so bloated that it presses heavily against the table. She clutches her swollen midsection, breathing shallow as she struggles to finish the last soda.
I did it, but I'm so full.
Hazel slumps back, her face flushed and her belly bulging out massively in her lap. She looks both proud and overwhelmed by how full she is.
You pushed through, Hazel. That was incredible. Thanks, but I don't think I can even stand up right now.
Hazel groans softly, rubbing her overstuffed stomach, clearly over the moon with her accomplishment, though also in a state of extreme discomfort.
Phew, this is starting to feel like a workout.
Hazel's pace had slowed significantly as she browsed the mall. Her noticeably heavier body had her panting after just a few minutes of walking. Her oversized belly was beginning to sway gently with each step, pressing firmly against the waistband of her stretched pants. Her large, heavy breasts were almost resting on her belly as she moved, creating a tight, uncomfortable squeeze in her clothes. She paused near a clothing store, leaning heavily on a railing. Her face flushed with both effort and the realization that her usual stamina was no longer there.
Maybe I should start bringing water when I shop. It's crazy how much I've grown, huh? I feel heavier every day, but I can't say I regret it. Life's too short to not enjoy yourself, right?
Hazel stands before you, her body now undeniably heavy, the softness of her curves dominating her form. Her wide hips strain against her once roomy shorts, which cling to her thickened thighs, now rubbing together with every step she takes. Her belly, while still restrained after a meal, gently swells out from her body, creating a slight curve that presses against the waistband. Her breasts, having grown significantly, spill out from her stretched top, the fabric barely containing her new voluptuousness. Hazel's movements are slower now, a noticeable heaviness in her gait as she works around the restaurant. Each step causes her thighs to chafe, and the sway of her hips is more pronounced as she navigates the narrow spaces between tables. Her belly dominates her lap, plush and inviting. Your hands sink into the thick, soft fat, Hazel shivering at each slow, deliberate rub. She casually enjoys her meal, her thick thighs pressing into her chair as her belly starts to swell slightly with the intake. Her swollen stomach dominates her frame, pressing hard against her clothes, every bite pushing her deeper into discomfort as her body strains under the weight. Your fingers knead into her packed stomach, the pressure making her whimper.
Don't stop. I need this. Phew. Oops, I'm so sorry.
Hazel turned to admire a display of purses and accidentally knocked over a stack of handbags with her wide hips. The motion was unintentional, but her now more expansive body was making it increasingly difficult to navigate tight spaces without causing a commotion. As she hurriedly bent down to pick up the bags, her thick belly pressed against her thighs, causing her to wobble slightly as she stood back up. Her cheeks burned with embarrassment, but there's a hint of acceptance in her eyes as she brushed herself off.
I really need to start watching where I'm going.
Hazel lowers herself into a plank, immediately feeling the strain as her heavier midsection presses toward the mat. Her arms and shoulders tighten to hold her up, her face already glistening with a light sheen of sweat. She focuses intently, but her belly dips closer and closer as her body adjusts to the extra weight. Seconds tick by slowly, and Hazel's breathing grows heavier. She feels her entire body trembling under the effort, her arms straining just to keep her steady as she fights against the pull of gravity on her now curvier figure. After nearly 30 seconds, she can't hold on anymore and lets herself drop to the mat with a heavy sigh, feeling both frustration and pride.
Ugh, okay, that's harder than it looks.
She rolls onto her back, catching her breath and patting her midsection, noticing how the added weight is really starting to change things. It's late at night, and the dim lights of the fast food joint illuminate Hazel as she works the drive-through window. Her shift seems quiet, but her body, now too large for the small window space, is anything but. She shifts uncomfortably, her bloated belly pressing hard against the counter. Each time she tries to hand a meal through the window, her stomach blocks her movement, making it nearly impossible to pass food to the customers.
How is she managing in there? She can barely fit into the window frame.
Hazel huffs with frustration as her swollen belly bumps against the edge of the window, knocking over bags of food. Her body completely fills the small drive-through space, leaving no room to maneuver.
Ugh, this is such a pain. Why is everything so tight?
She attempts to reach out again, but her rounded belly presses even harder against the window frame, nearly spilling through the opening. Each time she moves, her body wobbles, making the task seem almost impossible. You offer to help, stepping closer to take the food from her hands and pass it to the waiting customer.
Here, let me help. You're not exactly built for this window anymore, huh?
Hazel shoots you a grateful but embarrassed look, her face flushing red as she realizes just how big she's gotten.
Thanks. I didn't think it would be this bad, but I can't even turn around properly in here.
As you help her with the orders, her belly continues to press against the counter, each movement causing it to jiggle and knock things over. Hazel tries to adjust herself, but it's no use, the space is simply too small for her now.
She's completely filling the window. There's no way she's comfortable.
As Hazel finishes passing the last of the food, she takes a deep breath, her belly expanding even further against the counter, her whole body filling every bit of space available.
I swear, I can barely move in here anymore.
She rubs her stomach, which wobbles slightly as she leans back, trying to get some relief from the pressure. Her shirt is stretched taut over her belly, the fabric straining with every breath.
Maybe I need a bigger window next time, huh?
She tries to laugh it off, but her discomfort is clear. You can't help but notice how her body completely dominates the small drive-through area, leaving little room for anything else.
She's way too big for this job now. There's no way she'll be able to keep working here like this.
Hazel sighs, her belly jiggling with the movement as she steps back from the window, visibly exhausted from the effort it took just to pass a few meals.
Thanks for the help. I'll figure something out. Maybe I'll just start running the place from the back where there's more room for this.
She gestures to her swollen belly, a look of resignation and slight embarrassment on her face. You leave the fast food joint, her struggles still fresh in your mind. Lucy's slender fingers fumble with the zipper of her hoodie as she stands near the cafe's back exit. She's still in her maid outfit, the black and white fabric hugging her figure. Her tongue peeks out slightly in concentration as she tugs at the zipper, trying to pull it up over her chest.
Need some help there.
Her cheeks turn a soft pink as she looks up, a little embarrassed.
It's just, this hoodie usually fits fine, but today it's being stubborn.
She takes a deep breath, holding it as she pulls on the zipper with all her strength. The hoodie creaks faintly as the zipper inches upward, finally closing over her chest with an audible zip. Lucy exhales sharply, her cheeks flushed from the effort.
There, got it.
The tightness of the hoodie is evident, the fabric straining against her curves, especially over her chest where her maid outfit's frills press against the zipper.
Impressive, but are you sure you can breathe in that?
She laughs nervously, tugging at the bottom of the hoodie to adjust it.
I be fine, it's just snug.
Lucy leans down to tie her shoes, and that's when it happens. Her awkward movements cause one breast to shift above the other, creating a noticeable bulge in the fabric. Lucy gasps softly, quickly straightening up and trying to smooth her outfit.
I'm not used to this.
Her hands fidget, readjusting her chest and pulling at the neckline of her hoodie to cover the exposed curves. The movement only seems to make things more noticeable, the fabric catching awkwardly on her newfound shape.
Take your time, no rush.
She nods, her expression a mix of embarrassment and frustration. After a few more adjustments, she gives up and lets the hoodie hang open slightly as the two of you head toward W.C. Donald's. The walk to W.C. Donald's is punctuated by Lucy's occasional attempts to fix her hoodie. Each time she shifts, her breasts jiggle slightly, her discomfort evident.
I'm sorry if this is distracting. I didn't think they'd change this much so quickly.
It's nothing to worry about. You're still getting used to it.
Lucy gives you a small, appreciative smile, though she's still clearly self-conscious. The golden arches of W.C. Donald's come into view, and the smell of greasy fries and sizzling burgers wafts through the air. Inside, the place is bustling, but a familiar face greets you from behind the counter.
Hey there, fancy seeing you two here.
Hazel beams, her cheerful demeanor as bright as ever. She leans on the counter, her curves emphasized by the snug uniform she wears.
Hey Hazel, we're just grabbing a bite. Well, you're in luck. I just whipped up something special. You both up for a little feast? Come on, Lucy, let's see what you can handle.
Lucy glances at the towering tray of food and nods shyly.
All right, I'll give it a try.
Hazel disappears into the kitchen, emerging moments later with a tray piled high with food, double-stacked burgers, golden fries, and towering milkshakes. Lucy's eyes widen at the sight.
Dig in.
The two of you sit down, and Lucy hesitates at first, looking at the sheer amount of food. But after the first bite of a juicy burger, her hesitation melts away. Each bite seems to ignite a hunger she didn't know she had. She moves from the burger to the fries, her lips shiny with grease as she chews eagerly. Her petite frame almost looks out of place in contrast to the hearty appetite she's showing.
You're really going for it, huh?
Lucy pauses, a fry halfway to her mouth, and laughs nervously.
I guess I'm hungrier than I thought.
She picks up her milkshake, the thick, creamy drink coating her lips as she takes a sip. Hazel watches from the counter, a playful smirk on her face.
You're a natural, Lucy. Keep it up, and you'll be a W.C. Donald's regular in no time.
Lucy blushes, but she doesn't slow down. By the time she's done, the tray is nearly empty, and she leans back with a contented sigh.
That was a lot more than I usually eat.
You handled it like a champ.
Her blush deepens, but she smiles softly. There's a new warmth in her expression, a small spark of confidence as she pats her stomach lightly.
Thanks for taking me here. I think I needed this.
Hazel waves as you leave, and Lucy's steps are lighter on the way back, though she's still tugging at her hoodie occasionally, adjusting to her changing body. You walk into the cafe, you spot Hazel trying to balance her laptop on her lap, her belly too large for the table to comfortably accommodate both her and her work. Her belly spills over her waistband, forcing her to sit further back in the chair, her thighs spreading wide to make room for her expanding lower half. A large, sugary pastry sits untouched next to her, though it seems like she's about to give in any moment.
This is getting ridiculous. I can barely fit at this table anymore.
She huffs in frustration, her belly wobbling slightly as she tries to adjust her position. Her chest strains against her top, pressing heavily into her arms as she tries to reach for the keyboard. It's clear that her growing figure is making even simple tasks like working in the cafe a challenge.
Maybe you've outgrown these tables, Hazel. Doesn't look too comfortable. You think, ugh, I just need to finish this. But I could use another snack too.
Belly gurgles as if in response, and she lets out a small laugh, clearly torn between the desire to finish her work and her growing appetite. Hazel's body is now soft and plush, her expanding frame dominating the small chair as she reaches for the pastry with one hand while typing with the other. Belly gurgles as if in response, and it's a delicate balance, one that she's quickly losing to her cravings. Hazel waddles slowly toward the scale, one hand braced on her lower back, the other cradling the soft swell of her stomach. She exhales deeply before stepping on, the device giving a small creak beneath her now obvious heft. Her belly hangs forward in a thick, plush arc, even while empty. Soft folds spill over the waistband of her shorts, which cling desperately to her hips and thighs.
Wait, KG.
Huh? I think the scale actually groaned at me.
Her top, once loose and playful, now hugs the generous curve of her breasts and sides, clinging like plastic wrap. The buttons are gaping open, her bra peeking through between the stretched seams.
Pretty sure I'm one squat away from splitting this outfit.
Her thighs squished together fully, her stance slightly widened to accommodate the sheer width of her hips. Every subtle movement sends her soft middle into a gentle wobble.
I've gotten so big that I can barely fit into my uniform now. It's getting hard to move around like I used to, but I'm really enjoying how much I've grown. This is what happens when you don't hold back.
At this stage, Hazel's body has transformed into a full, voluptuous figure, her soft curves becoming more exaggerated and prominent. Her belly, even when empty, now pushes out in a gentle arc that spills over her waistband, her shorts barely managing to contain the thick width of her hips and thighs. Her top, once loose, now hugs every curve of her generous chest, her breasts pressing heavily against the fabric and threatening to burst free with every movement. Walking between tables has become more of a challenge for her, as her thickened thighs brush against each other constantly, forcing her into a slower, more deliberate pace. She hums, a lazy smile playing on her lips.
You have no idea how good that feels.
Her thick midsection spreads outward as she eats, her belly rounding out noticeably, pressing against her waistband with increasing pressure.
Okay, I've trained for this. Let's see how much I can handle.
Hazel begins the challenge with a bit more confidence, taking bigger bites than before. Her belly is already much larger than in previous challenges, and she devours the first 2 burgers with little hesitation. But as she moves on to the third, her breathing becomes heavier, her bloated stomach growing taut against her waistband.
You're halfway there, Hazel. Just keep pushing. I know, but this is really tough.
By the 5th burger, Hazel is clearly struggling. Her belly is huge, pushing out so far that it presses into the table, and her face is flushed from both the effort and the fullness. But she's determined to finish, despite her body protesting with every bite.
Just one more.
Hazel forces down one last burger for good measure, her face red with effort as her belly swells massively in her lap. She grabs the soda, drinking it down slowly, her hands trembling as she finishes. When she's finally done, she drops the cup and collapses back in her seat, panting heavily.
I did it, but I feel like I'm going to burst.
Her massive belly bulges out in front of her, round and taut, pressing against her pants so hard that the button looks ready to pop. Hazel rubs her bloated stomach gently, a mix of pride and discomfort on her face.
You're amazing, Hazel. I don't know how you managed to finish all that. Thanks, but I don't think I can move for a while.
Hazel groans softly, too full to do anything but sit and digest, her belly visibly throbbing as it struggles to handle the massive amount of food inside. Hazel leans back in her seat, her stuffed belly pressing out in front of her, each bite causing her waistband to tighten uncomfortably. Hazel moans softly, her body quivering as she shifts her weight into your hands.
Oof, I really overdid it this time. I'm waddling everywhere now. My belly's leading the way, but I'm still enjoying every bite. I've really grown into this new size, and I'm not looking back.
With her belly now full, Hazel's body has swelled further, her rounded stomach pushing out dramatically in front of her. The waistband of her shorts is hidden beneath the soft swell of her belly, which jiggles with every movement, making her feel every step. Her top rides up higher, revealing the bottom of her belly, which peeks out from under the strained fabric. Hazel's walk has slowed to a near waddle, her thighs rubbing together with every step, forcing her to shift her weight from side to side to accommodate her full stomach.
No more, I already feel like I need someone to roll me home.
Hazel leans back in her seat, her stuffed belly pressing out in front of her, each bite causing her waistband to tighten uncomfortably. Her breathing grows heavier, her belly now a tight, rounded mass that presses heavily into her lap as she tries to keep eating. Her swollen stomach groans under the pressure of the food, her movements slow and labored, her waistband digging painfully into her bloated midsection.
I feel like I'm about to burst every time I eat, but I just can't stop. The food's been too good to resist, and now I'm paying the price, but I kind of love it.
Hazel's body is now dominated by her massive, overstuffed belly, which stretches out in front of her like a bloated dome. Her shorts, unable to contain her expanding hips and thighs, have been completely unbuttoned, and her stomach rests heavily on top of them. Her top, once oversized, now clings tightly to her chest, her breasts spilling out over the fabric and pressing down against the mass of her distended stomach. Each step is a laborious shuffle, her body swaying side to side as she struggles to maintain her balance under the sheer weight of her swollen form. You knead deeper, your palms pressing into the overstuffed curve. Hazel lets out a low, breathy moan, her cheeks burning.
Ooh, why you're making this feel way too good. I think I'm going to need a bigger size, again.
Hazel stood in front of a plus-size store, holding up a pair of leggings with a look of resignation. Her body had expanded dramatically, her belly now rounder, hanging over the waistband of her pants and her breasts straining the seams of her top. The leggings in her hand seemed massive, but as she held them up against her growing frame, she realized they're just right. Her once lean figure was now voluptuous, soft in places she never thought would gain weight. As she waddled toward the fitting room, her heavy hips swayed with each step, her chest bouncing with every movement.
Oh.
While browsing a jewelry store, Hazel accidentally bumped into a display with her belly, sending several rings and necklaces clattering to the floor. Her growing midsection had made it harder for her to gauge her surroundings. She awkwardly bent down to pick up the scattered items, her belly pressing against the display counter as her breasts nearly smother her face in the process. Her face flushes bright red as she finally stood, clutching the retrieved jewelry. Despite her embarrassment, she laughed it off, clearly getting used to these accidents.
I guess my body just has a mind of its own now.
It's a bright day outside W.C. Donald's, and the scent of fried food fills the air. Hazel is taking part in a promotional event, operating a food truck right in front of the fast food restaurant. However, instead of serving customers, Hazel's attention seems to be on something else, the mountain of food behind her. The truck is small, far too small for Hazel's growing body. Her wide hips press against the walls, and her bloated belly rests heavily against the counter as she starts sampling the food meant for the customers.
I couldn't let all this go to waste, right? Someone has to make sure it's good.
Her tone is light, but there's no mistaking the greed in her eyes as she shovels fries and burgers into her mouth, each bite pushing her further into indulgence.
She's barely fitting in there. I don't think the customers are getting any of that food.
Hazel's belly is already straining against her shirt, and with each passing second her body expands even more. She tries to move around the small kitchen, but her wide hips knock into trays, and her belly presses harder against the countertop, jiggling with each movement.
Ugh, why is everything in here so tight?
She tries to turn, but her growing body is now wedged between the counter and the wall. The space is simply too cramped for her to move freely, and as she reaches for another burger, her belly pushes into the fryer, nearly knocking it over.
It's like she's outgrowing the truck, and she's still eating.
You step inside the cramped truck, squeezing in beside Hazel as you take one of the trays of fries. Hazel looks up at you, a smirk on her face as she continues to stuff her mouth.
You here to help me out? There's plenty to go around.
You take a fry and hold it up to her lips. Hazel's belly rumbles in response, and without hesitation, she leans forward, devouring the fry and letting out a satisfied moan.
She's not slowing down at all.
You continue feeding her, fry after fry, watching as her belly grows heavier, pressing harder against the counter. Her body is so large now that she can barely move, and with each bite, she becomes more and more immobile. After a while, Hazel's eating slows, but her body continues to grow, pressing harder against the counters and walls of the food truck. Her belly is now resting on the counter, completely filling the space as she moans in bliss.
I think I might have overdone it.
Her body is practically immobilized, and she leans back, letting out a deep, contented sigh as she rubs her swollen belly. The truck is an absolute mess, with trays knocked over and food scattered everywhere, all thanks to Hazel's sheer size.
She's barely able to move now. I guess I'll help her finish the last bit.
You grab the last few fries and shakes and feed them to Hazel, watching as she takes each bite with a groan of pleasure. Her belly sloshes and gurgles, and by the time she finishes, it's clear that she won't be able to move without help.
Thanks, I'm definitely going to need a nap after this.
With her belly resting heavily on the counter, Hazel closes her eyes, completely stuffed and satisfied.
She's totally outgrown this food truck. There's no way she'll fit in here again.
You help her clean up the mess, or at least try to, but the small space is almost entirely filled by Hazel's massive form.
Maybe next time, I'll just run the food truck from outside. I don't think I'll be fitting in here again.
You both laugh as you exit the truck, leaving Hazel behind to rest as you head back toward the fast food joint. Her belly dominates her lap, distended and incredibly heavy, pushing outward in every direction. Your fingers knead into the plush surface, feeling the packed stomach beneath.
I feel like I'm about to burst. My belly's so round and tight, it feels like it's about to pop. But honestly, I've never been more satisfied. This fullness, this size, it's become a part of who I am now.
Hazel's body is nearly overwhelmed by her size now, her belly swollen so much that it dominates her entire form, split into two thick, hanging folds that press out in every direction. Her overstuffed stomach is so heavy that she's forced to waddle slowly, her hips swaying side to side, each step a monumental effort to balance her enormous body. Her upper belly presses heavily against her enormous breasts, which spill out of her bra, visible under her strained top. Lower belly hangs down to her thighs, jiggling with each step, and the waistband of her shorts has completely disappeared under the vast, fleshy folds. Her breathing is slow and labored, and her body jiggles uncontrollably with every tiny movement, a clear sign of how far she's indulged.
No way, I feel like my belly is about to take over my whole lap.
Her clothes creak from the pressure, her belly pushing out far beyond its usual size. Every bite is a struggle now, but Hazel forces herself to continue, even as she moans in discomfort.
I can't believe I'm still eating. This is ridiculous.
Spot Hazel at her usual corner table, though it's clear that usual isn't quite suitable for her anymore. Her belly presses against the table's edge, pushing it slightly away from her, and her expansive thighs are spread wide, barely contained by the small cafe chair beneath her. Her laptop rests on a makeshift stack of empty plates and cups that now serve as a makeshift stand, her lap clearly unable to support both her belly and her work.
This is not ideal. How am I supposed to work like this?
She grumbles, her face flushed with frustration as she tries to adjust. Each shift in her seat sends a small tremor through her belly, and her chest, spilling over the table, hinders her reach for the keyboard. Between the heft of her body and the clutter of empty dishes, her workspace has become a tight squeeze.
Maybe it's time for a bigger table or fewer snacks. Yeah, It's just, studying makes me so hungry.
She laughs softly, her belly letting out a contented gurgle in agreement. Reaching for a half-eaten pastry, she takes another bite, her eyes momentarily glazing over in bliss. With her focus returning to her studies, her fingers tap away, though she's clearly distracted by her ever-growing cravings.
My belly's gotten so big, it's starting to rest in my lap whenever I sit down. It's hard to believe how much I've changed, but I'm kind of proud of just how far I've come. Even if it means I'm a little out of breath now.
Hazel is now a vision of gluttony, her belly expanding dramatically as it fills with food, pushing both of its thick folds out further. The weight of her full stomach forces her to lean back slightly as she walks, causing her to waddle even more noticeably. Her thighs, grown so large they constantly rub together, are chafing with each step, making her movements slow and deliberate. Her once loose shorts are now just a tight band of fabric cutting into her flesh, struggling to contain her massive hips. Hazel's top has ridden up to reveal her overstuffed belly, while her bra, visible beneath the neckline, strains to support her swollen breasts. Her breathing is slow and labored, every movement sending ripples through her jiggling body as she tries to manage her growing bulk. Hazel shuffles forward, her pace deliberate and careful. The scale sits before her like a challenge, and she grunts softly as she positions herself over it, her thighs brushing audibly with each heavy step. Her belly is enormous now, hanging in two distinct, jiggling folds. The top rests against the curve of her breasts, while the bottom drapes over the waistband of her now unbuttoned shorts.
Wait, KG.
No way this thing was designed for someone like me.
Her breasts are heavy and pendulous, squashed upward by the swell of her upper gut. Her arms rest slightly lifted as if afraid of squishing into her sides too hard. When she turns, her hips shift like rolling hills, her backside swaying with a mesmerizing, slow-motion bounce. Her belly visibly sways in front of her even after she stops moving.
I can't believe this used to be flat. Oops, not again.
While browsing the jewelry store, Hazel accidentally bumped into a display with her noticeably larger belly, sending rings and necklaces clattering to the floor. Her midsection had become so prominent that gauging her surroundings was more difficult than ever. Tempting to bend down to pick up the items, her belly pressed heavily into the display counter while her generous chest rose almost to her chin. Each stretch and reach caused her soft belly and wide hips to shift and wobble, drawing a few amused glances from other shoppers. Flushed with embarrassment, she finally gathered everything, laughing it off with an exaggerated sigh.
Guess I'm making quite the impression today. Literally.
Her laughter eased her embarrassment, and she gave the store clerk an apologetic grin before carefully making her way out, mindful of her surroundings as best as she could.
Oops, not again. Oops, not again. Amazing that this still fits, barely.
Hazel stood outside the plus-size clothing store, now with an even larger pair of leggings draped over her arm. Her belly was rounder and softer, noticeably hanging over her waistband and pushing out her top. Her arms had thickened, her chest was fuller and stretched her shirt to its limits, and her hips had spread wider, giving her a wobbly sway with every step. He held up the leggings, noting how much fabric there was, yet they somehow looked just right against her frame. Her resigned sigh turned into a laugh as she headed toward the fitting room, each heavy step causing her chest to bounce and her belly to jiggle. She paused at the door, realizing with a hint of embarrassment that squeezing into the narrow changing room might be a challenge of its own.
I'm practically taking up the whole space now.
After a bit of maneuvering, she managed to get inside, muttering to herself about maybe avoiding mirrors for a while. Hazel lowers herself gingerly into a plank, though this time she barely manages to lift her chest before her belly presses firmly into the mat. The soft weight of her midsection makes the position feel almost impossible. Her arms shake as she tries to keep herself propped up, but the strain on her core and shoulders is overwhelming. Her breaths come in heavy pants, beads of sweat rolling down her face as she struggles to even hold a partial plank. She manages to stay up for a mere few seconds before she lets herself fall, collapsing with an exhausted sigh. Her body feels every ounce of the added weight, and she lies on the mat, smiling weakly as she catches her breath.
All right, definitely skipping planks from now on.
She pats her stomach affectionately, realizing that her body has changed so much that some exercises are out of reach. But a part of her enjoys the challenge, knowing she's pushed her limits.
I can't believe how much I've grown. I'm practically bursting out of everything I own. Walking is becoming more of a challenge, but honestly, I'm just enjoying how soft and cushioned everything feels now.
Hazel looks down at her bulging belly with wide eyes, her hand lightly rubbing it as she takes another hesitant bite.
I really shouldn't, but just one more.
Hazel grins at the massive meal in front of her, her excitement shining through as she tackles the first burger with gusto. She quickly polishes off the first few burgers and fries, her appetite driving her forward as her belly begins to swell with each hearty bite. As she reaches the last few fries, her stomach is clearly full, pressing out beneath her shirt and rounding out against the waistband of her jeans. Hazel lets out a little sigh of contentment, but her appetite isn't quite satisfied just yet. With a playful smile, Hazel orders a dessert, watching as the server sets a slice of chocolate cake in front of her. Her belly stretches further as she takes a bite, her cheeks flushed as she slowly savors each mouthful, her stomach rounding out noticeably. The cake fills her to the brim, her belly pressing against her shirt as she finishes the last bite, leaning back with a satisfied groan as she rests a hand on her overfull stomach.
That hit the spot.
Hazel closes her eyes, reveling in the full sensation, her hand gently patting her bloated belly as she lets out a blissful sigh, completely satisfied with her indulgent meal. Hazel moves with obvious strain now, her breath labored as she waddles slowly to the scale. Her body is immense, wide enough that her arms press into her sides by default, her steps short and careful. Her belly dominates her figure, hanging heavy and low beneath her sweater which no longer hides anything. It's taut in some places, sagging in others, an undulating sea of soft flesh that shifts with every breath.
Wait, KG.
I should start charging rent for all the space I take up.
The scale visibly tilts beneath her bulk, and even standing still, her frame sways gently, the sheer inertia of her body continuing long after she halts. Her shorts have been replaced with stretchy leggings that disappear beneath her belly. Even her arms have filled out thickly, resting on the sides of her upper stomach.
I'm really out of control now, huh?
Despite her words, there's awe in her voice, maybe even pride.
I've never felt so heavy before. Just walking feels like a workout now.
Hazel's sweater, meant to be oversized, no longer drapes freely, it clings in places, shaped by the soft heft of her belly and breasts. The fabric stretches where her curves push outward, settling over her midsection in a way that highlights her growing form rather than disguising it. Her belly, plush and steadily expanding, protrudes forward, creating a distinct bulge beneath the sweater's soft folds. Even the loose material can't fully hide the way it rounds out in front of her, an undeniable presence that shifts with every movement. Her jean shorts, upgraded to a stretchier, much larger size, are already showing signs of growing snug. Though they sit comfortably for now, the waistband presses lightly against her midsection, warning that it won't be long before they, too, become another casualty of her unrelenting appetite. Her thighs, once merely thick, have become truly substantial, rubbing together with every step. A soft, rhythmic friction hums between them as she moves, each step forcing her to subtly adjust her stance, spreading her legs slightly wider to accommodate their sheer size. Despite the increasing weight slowing her movements, there's an undeniable allure to the way she carries herself. Each step sends a rolling motion through her curves, her belly shifting slightly with the motion of her thick hips, her plush thighs jiggling in hypnotic unison. Sweater, already failing to fully obscure her softness, has an annoying tendency to ride up over the swell of her stomach, exposing a teasing sliver of pale skin before she tugs it back down. A futile gesture, one that only emphasizes just how much her body has outgrown her wardrobe. Her belly is a massive, quivering expanse spreading over her lap like a soft, overfilled cushion. Your fingers sink in deep, drawing a breathy moan from her lips. Her massive belly groans audibly as she forces another bite down, her face flushed with effort. The soft fabric of her shirt clings tightly, riding up as her belly pushes outward.
Phew, I really need to take a breather.
Hazel is perched heavily on a reinforced bench in the mall, her immense frame causing it to creak slightly under her weight. Her belly, round and enormous, spills onto her lap, while her wide thighs press firmly against each other, leaving no space between them. Her chest rises and falls visibly with each labored breath, her massive breasts resting heavily atop her belly, creating a shelf-like effect. She dabs her forehead with a tissue, sweat glistening on her skin, as she tries to cool down from the exertion of simply walking around the mall.
I didn't think shopping could be such a workout, but here we are.
Her hips spread across the bench, the sheer width of her lower body taking up more than her fair share of space. Her leggings strain visibly against her thick thighs, the fabric stretched so tight that it's almost translucent in places. She shifts slightly, adjusting her position with a soft grunt, the motion sending subtle ripples through her plush frame. Passers-by glance curiously at Hazel, their eyes drawn to the sheer size of her figure. She doesn't seem to notice, her focus entirely on catching her breath and sipping from the water bottle you handed her earlier.
Thanks for coming with me. I don't think I could have managed all this on my own.
Her smile is warm, despite her exhaustion, and she reaches over to give your hand a grateful squeeze.
Phew, I really need to take. Phew, I didn't mean to do that.
While admiring a display of gourmet chocolates, Hazel accidentally bumps into a towering stack of boxes with her wide belly. The impact sends the boxes toppling to the ground, creating a small commotion. Hazel's face flushes a deep red as she hurriedly bends down to pick up the scattered boxes. Her enormous belly presses firmly into her thighs, and her movements are slow and deliberate, the sheer size of her frame making the task more challenging than it should be. As she straightens up, her massive breasts jiggle slightly from the effort, and she brushes her hair out of her face with an embarrassed laugh.
I guess I'm not exactly graceful anymore.
Her wide hips sway noticeably as she moves to restack the boxes, her leggings creaking audibly with every step. You step in to help, placing the last few boxes back on the display before Hazel flashes you an apologetic smile.
Thanks for that. I'd probably still be fumbling around without you.
Despite the mishap, Hazel's cheerful demeanor doesn't waver. She takes a moment to adjust her top, which has ridden up slightly over her expansive belly, and then pats the fabric down with a resigned sigh.
I really need to start being more careful in these tight spaces.
Her laughter is light, and she nudges your shoulder playfully before heading toward the next store, her immense figure drawing every eye as she waddles confidently ahead. The pulsating lights of the club reflect off every surface, casting a kaleidoscope of colors onto the dance floor. You and Hazel step inside, the energy hitting you like a wave. Hazel waddles beside you, her immense size drawing both glances and gasps. Her massive figure, soft and plush, shifts heavily with every step. Her hips sway dramatically, and her belly bounces with a pronounced slosh, the sheer weight of her movements creating a rhythm of their own.
Finally, I've been waiting all week for this.
Her voice is bright and enthusiastic, though slightly breathless from the effort of walking in. Her cheeks are already flushed with excitement, and she adjusts the straps of her dress which cling tightly to her expansive curves. Her belly, round and heavy, pushes firmly against the fabric, threatening to overtake it completely. As you move toward the dance floor, the music thunders through the club, and Hazel wastes no time diving in. Movements, while slowed by her immense size, are full of enthusiasm. Her wide hips sway, and her immense backside jiggles heavily with every step, each ripple visible even through her tight dress. Each bounce of her soft curves draws stares, but Hazel seems unbothered if not emboldened by the attention. The crowd parts slightly to make room as Hazel spins, her belly swaying heavily and bumping into a few people along the way. Her massive breasts shift with her movements, drawing audible gasps as they bounce rhythmically in time with the music. Her thighs, thick and rubbing together with every step, create a soft sound that somehow adds to the beat of the music, her body becoming a part of the ambience.
Oops, guess I'm taking up a bit more space these days.
Her grin is infectious, and you find yourself drawn into her orbit as she twirls again, her dress hugging every inch of her soft, plush form. The effort of dancing shows on her face, beads of sweat forming on her brow, but her confidence and joy are undeniable.
You're incredible out here. Everyone's watching you.
Her cheeks flush deeper, but her smile widens.
Thanks, It feels good to just let loose for a while.
She sways her hips, her hands resting briefly on her belly as she takes a small break, her massive form commanding the space around her. After a while, Hazel heads toward the bar, her cheeks flushed and her breath coming in heavier gasps from the exertion. Her massive chest rises and falls visibly, and she fans herself lightly with one hand. She orders a beer, lifting the glass easily to her lips and taking a deep swig. Her throat moves rhythmically as she downs the drink in record time, her free hand resting on the top of her belly, which presses firmly against the bar.
You know, I think my tolerance has gotten better.
Before you can respond, she grabs another beer, then another, each one disappearing quickly as she laughs and chats with you. Her belly rounds out further with each drink, pressing more firmly against the fabric of her dress. The taut material struggles to contain her, the seams visibly straining as her fullness grows. By the time she finishes her fourth beer, her movements are slower, her cheeks deeply flushed, and her belly visibly swollen. Her hands rest on the sides of her bloated stomach, which sloshes audibly with each step. Her immense thighs rub together with every motion, the soft fabric of her dress riding up slightly as she shifts her weight.
Okay, maybe I've had enough. Or maybe one more.
Despite her words, she laughs again, her voice light and carefree as she leans heavily against the bar, her plush form spreading slightly across the counter. Her belly gurgles audibly, and she pats it lightly, her face glowing with satisfaction. When it's time to leave, Hazel waddles beside you, her steps unsteady but her mood light and cheerful. Her massive belly sways heavily with each movement, her body jiggling as she leans against you for support. Each step causes her to wheeze softly, her chest rising and falling dramatically as her breath quickens.
You're the best, you know that.
Her voice is soft and affectionate though her words are slightly slurred. You try to steady her, but her immense size makes it a challenge. Each step causes her hips to sway dramatically, her heavy backside brushing against you. Her bloated belly presses firmly into your side, its warmth and weight impossible to ignore. After a few attempts to guide her home, you realize it's not going to work. Her size and weight make it impossible to move quickly, and she's clearly too stuffed to hurry. You call for an Uber, and when it arrives, the real challenge begins. Getting Hazel into the car is an ordeal. Her massive belly presses against the door frame, and you have to guide her carefully, lifting and shifting her as she giggles through her drunken haze. Her plush hips and thighs take up most of the back seat, and her belly rests heavily against her lap, sloshing audibly with every adjustment. Her wheezing grows louder as she tries to situate herself, her soft laughter mingling with the sound.
Sorry, I'm not exactly travel-sized anymore.
Her laughter is light, and despite the struggle, she seems to be having the time of her life. Her immense backside spreads across the seat, pressing against the opposite door as she settles in. The car dips slightly under her weight, the suspension creaking audibly as she adjusts. Once she's finally situated, you take the front seat, glancing back occasionally to make sure she's comfortable. Hazel waves at you lazily, her soft smile visible even in the dim light of the car. By the time you arrive back at the dorm, Hazel is dozing lightly, her soft snores filling the car. You help her out carefully, guiding her inside and onto her bed, where she collapses with a contented sigh.
Thanks for tonight, you're amazing.
Her voice is barely above a whisper as she drifts off, her body sprawling across the mattress, her soft curves spreading out comfortably. Her bloated belly rises and falls gently with her breathing, sloshing faintly with each motion. Her smile lingers even as sleep overtakes her. Hazel sits at the corner table, her enormous form making the space feel tight and cramped. Her massive belly presses against the table's edge, forcing her to lean back slightly. Plates and cups pile around her, clear evidence of her indulgence.
Just one more bite, I swear.
She groans softly as she picks up a pastry, her fingers sinking into its flaky crust. Her cheeks puff out as she chews, her eyes closing in bliss. The chair creaks under her shifting weight, her thick thighs spreading to accommodate her bulk. Her belly growls faintly as she reaches for another treat, her top riding up slightly to reveal a strip of taut skin. She adjusts her position, her breath coming in shallow pants as she shifts to get comfortable.
Maybe I should stop, but it's just so good.
She lifts a muffin absent-mindedly, her appetite driving her forward despite the strain on her swollen stomach. Each bite sends soft ripples through her body, her belly pressing firmly against the table as it swells. Hazel slumps back in her chair after finishing, her belly pressing out massively. She rubs it instinctively, wincing slightly at the pressure.
Okay, I think I'm done. Definitely done.
Her breaths come in soft gasps as she tries to regain her composure, her hands resting on her overfilled stomach. The cafe staff glance nervously at the creaking chair beneath her, but Hazel seems oblivious.
You really went all out, didn't you? What can I say? Studying works up an appetite.
Hazel chuckles softly, patting her belly as she leans back with a contented sigh, surrounded by the remnants of her indulgence. She gasps as you need the firm curve, her breath trembling.
I can feel everything.
She gasps as you need the firm curve, her breath trembling.
I can feel everything. My belly's been making these weird noises all day. Do you think that's normal?
Hazel's belly now dominates her figure, stretching the once loose sweater taut across her midsection. The fabric pulls where her stomach juts forward, smoothing over the plush curve, while the excess material drapes around her sides, accentuating her roundness rather than concealing it. Her breasts, once the defining feature of her upper body, now seem modest in comparison to the sheer size of her belly. They rest heavily atop the soft dome, pushed slightly upward by the fullness below, their generous size nearly overshadowed by the sheer bulk of her midsection. The extra fat layering her belly gives it a gentle, ever-present wobble, a mesmerizing motion beneath her flowing sweater. Each step causes the plush weight to shift, sending subtle ripples through her overved frame, a constant reminder of how much softer she has become. Her thighs have thickened to the point where they are impossible to ignore, pressing together firmly as she moves. The constant friction sends a warmth through her legs, her every motion punctuated by the faint, ever-present sound of flesh rubbing against flesh. Her shorts, despite their stretch, are no longer the easy fit they once were. The waistband digs ever so slightly into the plush flesh of her lower belly, forcing her to adjust them frequently, tugging at the fabric to find a position that offers even the smallest relief. Her pace has slowed, her movements have taken on a new sensuality, the weight of her body making each step deliberate. There's a noticeable sway to her stride, her belly shifting forward before settling with each step, the sheer mass demanding space and attention.
All right, this is it, the ultimate test.
Hazel stares down at the towering pile of food in front of her, her determination flickering in her eyes despite the beads of sweat forming on her brow. Her belly is already massive, pressing heavily against the edge of the table as she takes her first bite. She starts strong, tackling the first two burgers with surprising speed, her hands working methodically as she alternates between bites of fries and sips of soda. Her breathing grows heavier as her belly expands, pressing tighter against her waistband with every mouthful.
You've got this, Hazel. Just keep pushing. I'm trying, but this is so much food.
Her pace slows as she reaches the third burger, her hands trembling slightly as she forces another bite. Her bloated stomach rises prominently in her lap, the soft flesh pressing against her shirt, which has ridden up slightly to expose a sliver of her round midsection. By the fourth burger, Hazel is visibly struggling. Her belly now presses firmly into the table, the pressure making her wince with each bite. She leans back slightly, trying to alleviate the strain, her hands cradling the sides of her swollen stomach.
I'm so full, but I'm not giving up.
She forces herself to finish the last of the fries, her cheeks flushed and her breathing labored as she reaches for the final burger. Her hands shake as she brings it to her mouth, her determination shining through despite the overwhelming fullness. When she finally swallows the last bite, Hazel collapses back in her seat, her belly stretching out massively in front of her. Her hands move instinctively to rub the taut surface, her face a mix of pride and discomfort.
I did it, but I think I'm going to need a week to recover.
Her swollen belly rises and falls with each shallow breath, the enormity of her accomplishment visible in every inch of her overstuffed form.
Wait, are you thinking what I think you're thinking? Maybe, just one more round. I want to see if I can really push myself.
Hazel waves over the server, ordering the challenge a second time. The tray arrives, and she stares at it with a mix of excitement and dread, her hands resting on her massively distended belly.
All right, let's do this.
The first burger of the second round is slow going, each bite requiring visible effort as her swollen stomach groans in protest. She's panting by the time she finishes it, leaning back slightly to give her belly more room.
Hazel, you're incredible, but are you sure you want to keep going? I've come this far, I can't stop now.
Her pace slows to a crawl as she works through the fries and the second burger, her breaths coming in short gasps as her belly swells further, pressing against the edge of the table. Her shirt can't contain her midsection anymore, riding up to reveal the taut, round expanse of her stomach.
It's so much, but I'm almost there.
By the time she reaches halfway through the third burger of the second round, Hazel's body gives in. Her hands fall to her sides, trembling from exertion, her face flushed as sweat beads along her brow.
I can't do it, I'm so full, it hurts.
Her massive belly dominates her lap, pressing heavily against the table edge. Each shallow breath causes the surface to wobble slightly, her hands moving instinctively to cradle the sides of her overstuffed midsection.
You did incredible, Hazel. That was more than anyone could handle. Thanks, but I really thought I could finish.
Despite her disappointment, there's a glimmer of pride in her eyes as she leans back, groaning softly. Her immense belly stretches out before her, round and taut, her body visibly trembling from the strain.
I don't think I can even stand up right now.
You offer her a reassuring smile, helping to steady her as she leans back against the chair. The room seems to dim slightly as Hazel closes her eyes, letting her body relax against the overwhelming fullness. Her belly is impossibly packed, a taut, sloshing dome buried beneath thick, jiggling fat. Your fingers press deep, feeling the strain of her stuffed stomach under the plushness.
Do you think this chair can hold me? I've been hearing some creaks lately.
Hazel's sheer size is impossible to ignore now. Her belly has grown so large that it dominates her entire frame, a vast plush dome that pushes out far in front of her, stretching her sweater to its limit. Every breath strains the seams, the fabric groaning against her unrelenting expansion. Her once trusty jean shorts are unbuttoned, unable to contain the fullness of her waist. They cling desperately to her hips and thighs, the thick fabric stretched taut, threatening to slide lower with every movement, leaving the vast undercurve of her belly exposed. The sheer heft of her belly forces her to adjust her posture, her back arching slightly to counterbalance the weight pulling her forward. Even the soft, cushiony fat layered atop her stomach wobbles with every step, sending slow, mesmerizing ripples through her overwhelmed frame. Her thighs, immense and plush, have become a resting place for the excess weight of her belly. Sitting down is an ordeal, requiring her to spread her legs wide to accommodate the sheer bulk spilling into her lap, the soft flesh pressing against her legs in thick, yielding folds. Movements have slowed to careful, deliberate steps, her widened stance necessary to maintain balance. The weight of her belly pulls at her lower back, her hips swaying heavily as she navigates even the simplest tasks, her entire body shifting in response to the mass she carries. Despite the strain, there's a deep satisfaction in the way she cradles the underside of her belly, her fingers sinking into the plush, yielding flesh. A deep, pleased sigh escapes her lips, perhaps from exertion, perhaps from the undeniable pleasure of indulgence made manifest. Her body seems to sink into itself under the sheer weight of her bloated stomach, the fabric of her clothes creaking ominously as she takes another bite.
I can't believe how tight this feels. I swear I might actually tip over from how full I am. I swear I might actually tip over from how full I am.
Her body seems to sink into itself under the sheer weight of her bloated stomach, the fabric of her clothes creaking ominously as she takes another bite.
I can't believe how tight this feels.
Hazel kneels awkwardly beside her mat, her immense frame making it difficult to maneuver into position. Her belly presses heavily against her thighs as she lowers herself onto all fours, her arms trembling slightly as they support her weight. The plush rolls of her midsection sway gently with each movement, the soft sound of fabric stretching filling the quiet gym. She attempts a modified plank, but her belly almost immediately sinks to the mat, the soft flesh pressing firmly against the surface. Her arms and shoulders quiver as they struggle to lift her weight, her breaths coming in short, strained gasps.
Oof, okay, this is way harder than it looks.
Her face flushes deeply as she tries again, her body jiggling slightly with the effort. She manages to lift herself for a brief moment, the strain visible in every trembling muscle, before she collapses with an audible sigh. Her chest heaves as she catches her breath, her arms sprawling out to the sides as she lets her body sink heavily onto the mat.
All right, planks are officially off the menu.
She rolls onto her side, her belly spreading out comfortably against the mat as she props herself up on one elbow. Her leggings stretch to their limit, the waistband dipping under the soft curve of her belly as she adjusts her position. Despite the struggle, Hazel manages a laugh, her eyes twinkling with amusement.
At least I gave it a shot, right?
She pats her belly fondly, the soft jiggle drawing her attention as she sits up with a groan. Her movements are slow and deliberate, her plush frame settling heavily into place as she leans back against the wall to rest.
I tried turning over in bed last night, and oof. I felt my belly slosh before I even finished moving.
Hazel has widened dramatically, her entire body now a sprawling mass of soft, plush excess. Her once rounded features have softened further, her cheeks now fuller, her chin forming visible folds that frame her warm, flushed face. Her sweater, once comfortably oversized, is now pushed to its limits, the seams visibly stretching to contain her ever-expanding frame. With every motion, the fabric pulls tighter, creeping farther apart as if in protest, barely keeping up with her relentless growth. Her breasts, still massive, now spill lazily over the top of her belly, the sheer size rendering any bra useless. They rest heavily against the swell of her midsection, moving only when her massive form shifts, her soft flesh yielding easily beneath their weight. Each step is accompanied by the soft, rhythmic friction of her body chafing against itself in every possible location. Her arms rub against the plush sides of her torso, her belly presses against her thick thighs, and even her hips strain against the fabric of her stretching sweater. Her movements have slowed, her stride now a pronounced waddle, her massive thighs rubbing together in synchronized motion as she shifts her weight with deliberate effort. The sheer amount of space she takes up is impossible to ignore, she is a vision of pure, unrestrained indulgence. Your fingers press deeper, exploring every inch of her softness. Hazel moans softly, her eyes fluttering.
I think I'm addicted to this.
Hazel occupies the entire corner booth, her immense form spreading across the seat like a fleshy tide. The wooden bench groans beneath her, cushions swallowed under layers of plush, yielding flesh. Her belly has ballooned into a mountainous orb of indulgence, bulging onto the table's edge and hanging over her thighs like a slumbering beast.
NNGH, just a few more bites.
Voice is breathy, each syllable pushed out between labored breaths. Her arm trembles slightly as she lifts a dainty pastry, one of many already half buried in the scattered remnants of a sugar-coated massacre. Her fingers sink into the flaky crust, but the morsel is dwarfed by the soft, wobbling girth of her hand. She lifts the treat to her lips, cheeks already dusted with powdered sugar and faint blush. As she takes a bite, her eyes flutter shut in bliss. Her massive belly lets out a quiet groan of protest, the sound muffled but omnipresent, a reminder that she is far beyond capacity. Lifts her entire torso. Her breasts, full and lazy, spill down atop her swollen gut, barely shifting anymore from their resting place atop the upper swell of her belly. Her sweater, soaked in warmth and stretched nearly transparent, clings to every fold and swell of her overwrought form. Sharp creak splits the quiet air as she adjusts herself, trying to lean back. The bench trembles, one leg audibly scraping against the tiled floor. Hazel winces, one hand sliding over the crest of her belly, the other instinctively trying to tug her sweater back down over the wobbling strip of pale skin that's been exposed.
God, I'm so full. I feel like a pastry myself, stuffed and ready to pop.
She says it with a tired grin, but there's a glint of pride in her eyes. Her thighs spread across the seat and spill out over its sides, thick, doughy legs jiggling with every minor movement. Her hips compress against the booth edge, flesh pressing and oozing out in soft heaps. He picks up another muffin, smaller than her palm now, and begins to devour it slowly, deliberately. Her lips part, cheeks puffing as she chews, the soft sounds of her indulgence mingling with her heavy breaths. Her belly shifts outward just a little more, taut and impossibly full, her body a living monument to excess. Finally, she sags into the booth, her entire body sinking under its own plush weight. Her belly balloons forward even farther now, resting atop her thighs with an audible *F***. She rubs it with both hands, fingers spreading out to cover only a fraction of its surface.
MMMF, okay, that's really it this time.
Her breath catches as her massive middle lets out another low groan. The seams of her sweater are visibly strained, one threatening to split at the armpit. The faintest line of sweat glistens along her forehead, her flushed face radiating heat from the sheer exertion of eating so far past her limit. Across the cafe, the staff watch with a mix of awe and barely concealed panic, eyes darting to the increasingly unstable booth. But Hazel seems unaware or perhaps just uncaring. She smiles lazily, full and glowing with satisfaction, reclining as much as her engorged gut will allow.
That was impressive, Hazel. Heh, studying takes energy. I just happen to need a lot more fuel these days.
She grins, cheeks puffed with lingering crumbs, one hand absently jiggling the swell of her middle. The mountain of empty plates around her glimmers in the warm cafe light, an altar to gluttony. Atop it all, Hazel reclines, gargantuan, gorgeous and completely, undeniably satisfied. Hazel stands at the edge of her yoga mat, if standing can still describe the careful wobble of her stance. Her belly surges outward in every direction, heavy and burdened, resting almost against her knees. Her leggings roll downward with every breath, revealing the soft overhang of her underbelly. With an audible grunt, she begins her descent to the mat. Her legs shudder, fat jiggling around her knees and hips as she kneels slowly, painfully, like a giant pudding trying to settle.
Just getting down should count as cardio.
As she lowers herself, the mat disappears beneath her. Her stomach domes forward, squashing against her thighs with soft, liquid-like sloshes. Every inch of her body quivers as she shifts, arms trembling under her own weight. She attempts a forward stretch, barely managing to lean, her belly blocking all motion. Her cheeks puff out with each panting breath, sweat dripping down her sides in rivulets.
I need a new pose like laying still forever. Okay, *HNNHH asterisk. This is it. I'm gonna do both, all 10 burgers, all 6 fries, all 4 drinks.
Hazel's voice trembles with anticipation and strain. Her girthy frame spills across 2 pushed-together booths, her body far too massive for a single seat. Her belly is already swollen from earlier snacking, but she insists on starting fresh. A server wheels over a reinforced tray cart. 2 towering stacks of burgers, fries packed into deep trays, and comically oversized cups of soda all steaming and taunting her. The scent hits first, salty, greasy, and seductively rich. Hazel huffs, her heavy breasts resting lazily atop her vast, plush stomach, now layered in heavy folds. Her sweater clings to her in all the wrong places, riding high over the upper swell of her gut. She doesn't bother tugging it down anymore. With effort, she leans forward, the sheer size of her body forcing a grunt from her lips as her belly compresses. Her arm reaches for the first burger, fingers squishing into the soft bun. Her pace is slow but relentless. Every bite is a battle of will versus capacity. By burger 3, beads of sweat dot her flushed cheeks. She moans quietly, her eyes fluttering as satisfaction and pain blend into something euphoric.
That's it, Hazel, you're doing it. I'm not stopping. Not until it's gone asterisk.
Her jaw works in slow rhythm, cheeks stuffed, her belly groaning audibly with each new addition. Fry after fry disappears into her soft lips, washed down with sticky, syrupy soda. Her breathing quickens. The top button of her shorts gives up with a muted pop asterisk, allowing her lower belly to lurch forward with a quiver. By the 5th burger and the 2nd drink, her upper belly is bloated into a tight dome, pressing high beneath her breasts, which jiggle slightly with each strained breath. The folds below shift to accommodate, her whole form reshaping under pressure. She slouches back, arms sprawled, head tilted with a dazed smile. Her belly quivers, an enormous jostling orb stuffed nearly to capacity.
Hela first round.
Wrappers litter the tray, the scent of grease and salt lingering heavily in the air. Her swollen hands tremble as she waves to the server.
Bring it, bring the second.
Her confidence is shaky but resolute. The next tray arrives, 10 more items, she moans just seeing it. The first burger of the 2nd round is sluggish, each bite takes time, her mouth slowly chewing while her belly creaks beneath the pressure. Her body looks as if it might physically reject more food, but she continues. By the 2nd burger, her arms are resting on her own belly for support. She's using the wobbling dome like a table, crumbs falling onto it and vanishing into the deep canyon between her upper and lower rolls.
*HNNFGHH. So tight, but I can do this.
She belches deeply, the sound echoing in the now quiet W.C. Donald's. Other diners stare in awe. You stay by her side, handing her fries, wiping her brow, helping guide another straw to her lips. The 3rd burger of round 2 disappears painfully slow. Her lower belly now flops fully over her thighs, hanging low and quivering with every breath. She's leaned so far back she's almost lying down, pinned by her own overfilled mass. Her sweater has given up completely, the lower half of her globe-like gut resting exposed. Her skin is stretched and reddened, faint stretch marks visible beneath a sheen of sweat. She raises her hands again, weakly motioning for more. Her arms jiggle as she lifts them, breasts rising high atop the trembling shelf of her belly.
Hazel, you're nearly there. 2 more burgers, 1 more fry tray. Asterisk, ooh, and asterisk, feed them to me. I can't lift my arms anymore.
You obey, bite by bite, you guide greasy burgers to her lips. Her eyes flutter shut, her body quaking with each added ounce. The last drink is poured directly into her mouth as she lies helplessly stuffed, eyes half-lidded, belly rippling with tension.
Asterisk, GGLRK asterisk S sodas. F fizzing, inside me.
Finally, you lower the last bite to her lips. Her mouth barely opens. She chews slowly, deliberately, and swallows, then collapses backward. A groan escapes her, long, low, and full of reluctant satisfaction.
All of it, both rounds gone.
Her massive belly now rests across 2 entire booth benches, wobbling faintly with her breath. Her chest rises and falls slowly, her cheeks flushed with the overwhelming cocktail of triumph, agony, and carnal satisfaction. The restaurant is silent except for the creaks of the bench beneath her, the faint gurgling of digestion, and the occasional hiss of her overworked breaths.
Asterisk, hehe asterisk, told you I could do it.
You reach for her hand, brushing aside the empty wrappers and napkins. Her fingers wrap around yours weakly, but her face glows with pride.
You're amazing. I feel like I'm gonna pop, but also, I've never been this proud.
Her stuffed dome shifts slightly as she tries to adjust, only to give up and lie still again, defeated by the sheer magnitude of her own indulgence.
Just leave me here for a bit. I need to let gravity catch up.
The kitchen is already filled with the mouthwatering scent of butter, sugar, and sizzling oil as Hazel hums to herself, stirring a massive pot on the stove. Bowls, trays, and cutting boards cover every inch of counter space, each one holding a different dish in various stages of completion. Her immense body dominates the small kitchen, her wide hips swaying with each step, her plush belly brushing against the counter as she leans forward. The poor apron tied around her struggles to wrap around her, its strings digging into the vast expanse of her back, emphasizing just how much she has grown.
Okay, I may have gotten a little carried away, but I just couldn't decide on one dish, so I made all of them.
She gestures at the variable feast surrounding her, a towering stack of pancakes, a bubbling pot of creamy pasta, multiple trays of pastries, and an entire mixing bowl filled with thick whipped cream. The sheer scale of it is almost comical, but judging by the hungry glint in Hazel's eye, she sees it as nothing more than a personal challenge.
But it's not too much, right? I mean, I can eat a lot and you'll help me, right?
You chuckle, already knowing exactly where this is going. Hazel has always had a big appetite, but now, at her current massive size, her hunger is something truly insatiable. Even still, this might be pushing her limits. She plops down at the table, the chair groaning beneath her immense weight. Her belly spreads outward, consuming more and more space as she breathes in the intoxicating scent of her own cooking. Her stomach lets out a deep, impatient growl, and she giggles, her chubby fingers idly rubbing the soft curve.
Well, what are you waiting for? Feed me.
You grab a forkful of pasta and bring it to her lips. She eagerly accepts, moaning softly as the rich sauce coats her tongue. One bite turns into another, then another, her body relaxing into the indulgence. Her belly swells visibly, her apron riding higher as she packs herself fuller. The table presses firmly into her growing midsection, forcing her to lean back to make room, her heavy chest rising and falling with her deep breaths.
You're doing amazing, Hazel. Let's see how much more you can fit. You really like seeing me stuffed, huh? Well, lucky for you, I'm not stopping yet.
She grins, leaning in for another bite, then another. Her belly presses against the table's edge, her appetite seemingly endless as she continues to eat, her thick thighs spreading wider with each deep breath. By the time most of the food is gone, Hazel leans back heavily in her chair, her belly resting high and firm, rising and falling with each slow breath. Her apron has come undone, unable to contain the sheer mass of her overwhelmed gut. She lets out a small hiccup, then glances at the last remaining dish, a massive mixing bowl still half full of thick, sugary cream.
I want to finish it, but I don't think I can eat it normally.
An idea strikes you, and you grab a funnel from the kitchen counter. Hazel's eyes widen slightly, her cheeks flushing, but she parts her lips without hesitation as you dip it into the bowl.
Oh, you're really gonna do this? Well, I won't say no.
You bring the funnel to her lips, tilting the bowl ever so slightly. Thick, rich cream flows into her mouth, her throat moving with slow, deliberate swallows. Her belly rises with each gulp, stretching taut beneath her touch. She moans softly as the last of the cream disappears down her throat, her stomach visibly tight and full, her hands instinctively rubbing at the massive dome.
Come on, let's get you settled somewhere softer.
She takes your hands, letting you guide her to the couch. She sinks into the cushions with a sigh, her belly pressing firmly against her thighs as she leans back, utterly content.
I think I need to be spoiled like this more often.
As the night winds down, Hazel's eyes flutter closed, her hand resting atop her overfilled stomach. She murmurs sleepily, a blissful smile on her lips.
Next time, we make even more.
You chuckle, watching as she drifts off, too full to move, too happy to care.